Over £10,000 for statutory testing in a warehouse. This formed part of a dilapidations claim I dealt with recently. If this was your claim, would you be paying it, or would you be asking a specialist dilapidation surveyor for advice? I'm Tim Clarke, Managing Director at Harris & Clarke Chartered Surveyors, and I'll be considering when statutory testing can form a valid head of claim and when it can't. Typically, periodic statutory testing is required for mechanical and electrical installations, such as air conditioning, heating, fire detection, lifting equipment, etc. Some surveyors will take this further and ask for asbestos management plans and fire risk assessments. There's no question that best practice would be to have the relevant documentation up to date and in hand at lease end, but dilapidations disputes revolve around requirements written in the lease agreement and not nice to haves. It's important when considering whether statutory documentation is required to be handed to the landlord at lease end to think about a few key issues. Within the lease are normally separate provisions relating to disrepair, statutory compliance, and how to hand the premises back at lease end, known as the yield up clause. A functional installation would be considered to be in repair if it is fulfilling its function as designed. Failure to provide valid test certification would not normally render an item in disrepair, certainly under standard lease drafting. There may be exceptions to this, so of course, as with everything dilapidations, the exact lease wording needs to be scrutinised. While statutory compliance is important to ensure a property is safe, one way to consider whether the statutory compliance requirement has been breached is to really understand the alleged breach. For example, the LOLA regulations relating to the inspections of lifting equipment were enacted under the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, which is the primary legislation. It places responsibilities upon employers being in control of lifting equipment. At lease end, a building handed back to the landlord will be vacant and no longer a workplace. There will no longer be an employer with control over the relevant equipment at lease end, which is when dilapidations loss is considered to accrue. So while at first glance it seems sensible that a passenger lift should be handed back certified in compliance with the LOLA regulations, following the legal thread back to the real reason this is required doesn't necessarily back this up as a lease requirement. There will be some instances, however, where a tenant is required by the lease to hand the property back with test certification. Sometimes this requirement will appear in the yield up clause, but could equally appear in statutory compliance or repairing clauses. This is rare, but I have seen it recently where larger landlords use their own standard lease wording. This is a sensible way of addressing this issue to avoid it becoming a bone of contention at lease end. There will be situations where a landlord can rely on the repair clause to recover the cost of statutory testing. For example, where an electrical fault is found only as a result of testing, the electrical testing or fault finding could be considered as part of the repair. In this instance, both the cost of testing and repair works become a tenant liability. On the flip side, if the electrics are tested but no fault is found, the cost of testing will normally fall to the landlord. We also commonly see claims requiring asbestos testing. The duty holder does in this instance have an obligation to maintain an asbestos register and to share information with interested parties under the Control of Asbestos Regulations 2012. Therefore, if a register is not available at lease end, the landlord could claim for the cost of arranging for an asbestos survey to be prepared. In most normal circumstances, however, this does not happen, and so if the landlord has not had to spend money, they have suffered no loss. It is much more common for claims for a refurbishment and demolition survey to be an acceptable head of claim where remedial works are required, but only if the nature of works relating to disrepair calls for such a survey, as it is much more likely that this will actually be commissioned. If the landlord plans other upgrade works alongside dilapidations that would also require a refurbishment and demolition survey, it might be appropriate to share the cost of this, or alternatively for a tenant to resist payments to the landlord on the grounds that the cost of the survey would be the same and that the landlord would have incurred this cost as part of their improvement works anyway. Of course, as with anything dilapidations, these costs will need to be assessed against the facts. Some landlords will request a copy of the tenant's fire risk assessment and claim for the cost of preparation of a new one if this isn't provided. A fire risk assessment relates to both the nature of a property and the way it's used, so it can't normally be the case that a fire risk assessment for one tenant will be suitable for another, and should always be reviewed when there is reason to suspect that the fire risk assessment is no longer valid, such as when a change of tenant occurs or when a building transfers to becoming empty, which is normally what happens at lease end. As the fire risk assessment would need to be renewed at lease end anyway, there would be no additional loss to the landlord for failure to provide one, and therefore this should not be a cost borne by the tenant. While statutory compliance in leases isn't the sexiest subject, when there are thousands of pounds at stake in dilapidations claims stemming from alleged breaches, it suddenly becomes a little bit more interesting. This is one area of dilapidations where I often see confusion between surveyors, so it's important that when this becomes a contentious issue, you are represented by a specialist dilapidations surveyor. If you're facing a dilapidations claim and need specialist representation, our friendly team of experienced surveyors can be reached through our website at harrisonclarke.co.uk, and look forward to taking you through the dilapidations process.